All right. Area and perimeter in terms of x. Most of your questions on your quiz that you're going to take are like this. Okay, there's 2 problems that involve Chapter 6 stuff, and we'll review that in a minute. But this is Chapter 7 stuff. This is the opposite of factoring. You're going to take the binomials and multiply them. Area always involves multiplying. Side times side, length times width, base times height, radius times radius. So the area of this square would be side times side. Now, some kids mess up because they try to do it in their head. Remember, if you have a binomial times a binomial, how many little products should you get? Somebody said it. 4. 4. When you're multiplying, 2 terms times 2 terms, you should get 4 little products. Because you got to do 3x times 3x, which is 9x squared. And that's another thing kids are forgetting. They're saying 3x times 3x is 9x. That's not true. Then you do 3x times negative 4. Negative 12x. And then you're going to get another negative 12x. And at the very end, you're going to get a positive 16. So there's my 4 little products. 2 terms times 2 terms should give you 4 terms. And then the 2 in the middle are always like terms, so you want to put them together. So the area here is 9x squared minus 24x plus 16. That's my area. Are we okay with that? You will see one like that. Now perimeter for a square is pretty easy. Perimeter always just involves adding up all your like terms, adding up all the sides of the figure and combining like terms. What shortcut can we take if it's a square? Just take one side and multiply by 4. So what's the perimeter here? 12x minus 16 would be the perimeter. It doesn't matter. As long as you have them labeled area and perimeter. Area and perimeter. Okay, so number 1, area again was 9x squared minus 24x plus 16. Perimeter was 12x minus 16. Are we good with those 2? Okay, let's move on to the circle. Most kids are bothered by circles. They're not crazy about circles, but it's really not that much different than a square. You do have to know what you're looking at, though. If I give you diameter, that makes your circumference part super easy, but you have to know the radius to find area. Area of a circle is pi r squared. I prefer to think of that as pi times radius times radius. That means I got to know the radius. So if the diameter is 4x plus 2, what's the radius? 2x plus 1. Now, just like the square, instead of side times side, I'm doing radius times radius. And don't forget, when you're all done, you got to have a pi in there. Now, I should get 4 little products. What's my first product? 4x squared. What's my next product? Plus 2x. What's my next one? Plus 2x. What's my last product? 1. And then the 2 in the middle are like terms, so that's going to be 4x squared plus 4x plus 1. Now, one extra step, we got to make sure we multiply all of that by pi. So please don't just do this. Don't just stick a pi on the end. What's the only thing multiplying by pi? The 1. And if I chose to put the pi in the front, which is fine too, what's the only thing it's going to multiply by if I stick it up here? By the 4. Oh, it's a 1. Whoopsie. So my point is, and Waja, you just said it, what do I have to do? You have to put parentheses around your answer, and then you can put the pi on the front or the back. But that pi is supposed to multiply by all of that junk, so you've got to put it in parentheses. Okay, so a couple of extra things with a circle. You got to know the radius. Then you do radius times radius. You got to put parentheses around that part, and then you put a pi on it. Okay, circumference. Circumference is super easy if I tell you the diameter, which I did. You just stick a pi on it. It's diameter times pi. So how would I write the circumference of this circle? 4x plus 2 with parentheses, and then put a pi on it. Again, you don't want to write it like this because then pi is only getting multiplied by 2. And you don't want to write it like this because then it's only getting multiplied by 4x. However, both of those would have been correct had it been wrapped in parentheses. and then the pi outside the parentheses. Okay, are we good with that? There will be a circle on the problem, on the quiz. Okay, on to the triangle. What's the one thing that kids tend to forget about triangles? Dividing by 2. Area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. And I will put the formulas up on the board when you're taking your quiz, so somebody remind me if I forget. Base times height divided by 2. So I need this, and I need this. And I'm going to do it just like I did side times side, just like I did radius times radius. I got to write them side by side and do that FOIL process. First terms, outside terms, inside terms, last terms. Base times height divided by 2. Okay, so, and you can put the height or the base in any order. Alright, so I'm getting what? 12x squared. Then what? Minus 8x minus 18x plus 12. 12x squared minus 26x plus 12. Now, please don't forget, you've got to divide by 2. And here's another area where kids get a little confused. They want to know, how does that affect the x's? It really doesn't. It affects the coefficients. Okay, so what's my final answer for this area then? 6x squared minus 13x plus 6. That's my final area. It's been a while, but we did this. Is this ringing a bell? All of this, anything up here is fair game on the next quiz. And it could be on your test, your Chapter 7 test. Okay, now, how about perimeter of this? We don't need height for perimeter. If height's inside the triangle, that's not a part of the perimeter. You need all 3 sides, and you add them up. And if there's any like terms, you want to put them together. So what's the perimeter? 3x plus 2x plus 2x is 7x. And then positive 1 and positive 1 is positive 2, and positive 2 combined with negative 2. So it's just 7x. Just plain old 7x. Because positive 1, and negative 2, they cancel out. How many of y'all already had all 3 of those correct so far? All 3 of those figures correct. Excellent. Okay, now the rectangle. Area of a rectangle is length times width. Again, area always involves multiplying. So we're going to do 3x plus 4 times 2x minus 3. That's giving me what? 6x squared plus 8x minus 9x minus 12. Final answer, 6x squared minus x minus 12. Are we good with that? Okay, and then perimeter, you want to add up all 4 sides. Remember, the length and width are only 2 of the sides. Is everybody okay with the area before I erase? Okay, so the perimeter then, there's several ways you could do this to make your life a little bit easier. What's 2x plus 3x? 5x. Now remember, we got to double that because there's 2 other sides that are just like it. So what would that be? 10x. Add positive 4 and negative 3, and what's that? Positive 1. We got to double that because the other 2 sides are the same amount. Plus 2, right? Okay, so 10x plus 2 would be the perimeter. There's other ways to do it. You could literally write in all 4 sides and add them all up if you wanted to. Yes, I am. So are we good with these 4 problems, these 4 figures? Because you will see them in just a minute. Any questions? Anyone you want to do another example of? I won't put a trapezoid on the daily grade. So we're good with this. Let's do another circle. Okay, this time I'm going to give you the radius. On the warm-up, I gave you the diameter. The radius is 7x plus 6. I want you to find area and circumference. It looks like a sideways face. Like this. All right. Just work it out. Area is radius times radius, and then make sure you put a pi on your answer. Circumference is pi times diameter. So if you don't know the diameter, you've got to figure it out, which is pretty easy. You just double the radius. Okay, who thinks they know the area? Who's feeling confident? Christy, go ahead. Very good. I was looking at Chloe and I called on Christy, sorry. 49x squared plus 8x plus 36. How do y'all feel about that? Because she is correct. Ooh, good. No, you're not right. I'm sorry. I celebrated too soon. What's wrong with that answer? The pi. But before I put the pi on it, what do I have to do? Parentheses pi. Double P. Oh, she said 84, but I wrote 8, didn't I? Oopsie. You said 84, didn't you? I didn't write the 4. She had it correct. But don't forget to put the pi on it. 49x squared plus 84x plus 36. And then wrap the whole thing in parentheses and put a pi on it. All right, Chloe, how about circumference? Parentheses pi. Very good. You've got to double the radius, which just changes the 7 to a 14 and the 6 to a 12. Put it in parentheses and then stick a pi on it. Okay, so I think you're good with what we learned most recently. Now, I did sneak 2 problems in there. That was from chapter 6. For example, a problem like this. Here's a square, and it's got a side of 8x to the 7th. That's a little bit different. Now we're back to what we first learned. Now we don't have a binomial as our factor. It's just 8x to the 7th. Do y'all remember these? How do you find area of a square? No, 8x to the 7th is the side. You're finding the area. All right, area of a square is side times side. What's 8 times 8? Yes, we don't have to do the FOIL thing because there's no adding or subtracting here. It's just a cluster times a cluster. Okay, now how about perimeter? 32x to the 7th. Exponents do not change on perimeter on these problems. 8x to the 7th times 4, you just do 8 times 4. It doesn't affect the x to the 7th at all. The only time x's change is if you multiply x's times other x's, like we did here. Whoopsie. Or divide x's by other x's. But when you multiply by a whole number, it affects the other whole number. Okay, so are you going to be okay with that? Let's do another one. How about a rectangle? 7x to the 5th and 4x to the 3rd. Give me area and perimeter. To me, these are easier. You can do these in your head. It's not like the binomials. 28x to the x? 28x to the 8th. Absolutely. 7x to the 5th times 4x to the 3rd. 7 times 4 is how we get 28. And here the rule was you're counting the x's. There's 8 of them. On area, the exponents always change. On perimeter, they should not change. So how about perimeter then? 14x to the 5th plus 8x to the 3rd. Why can't I put these guys together? They are not like terms. And the exponents that we started with are the exact same in my answer. On perimeter, exponents don't change. On area, they will always change. All right, last one, and then we're going to take our quiz. Let's do a circle. The radius of this circle is, okay, 5x to the 10th. 5x to the 10th. You tell me the area and the circumference. Okay, area. 25. X to the 20th. Then what? Pi. Now, I had kids ask me, do we need parentheses on this? What do you think? You really don't need them because is there any addition or subtracting here? No, it's just a bunch of stuff getting multiplied. So the pi is in there getting multiplied with everything else. If you wanted to, though, they're certainly okay to put. It's not going to hurt anything. So if you're just in the habit of wrapping the answer in parentheses and then putting the pi, that's perfectly fine. They're not absolutely necessary here. All right, how about circumference? 10x to the 10th pi. You just double the radius, so 5x to the 10th becomes 10x to the 10th, and then you put a pi on it. Okay, any last minute questions? Because you got plenty of time. The quiz only takes about 15-20 minutes. Last minute questions? Any other figures you want to look at? Okay, your homework. And I do want you to, well, I'll leave it up here, but you need to write this down somewhere. When you're done with the quiz, you're going to start the homework. Your homework is page 200, which is the Chapter 7 review. We're not going to do the whole thing today, but we're getting ready towards possibly taking a test on Friday. We're going to do 1 through 18 today. Now, this goes way back to the first half of Chapter 7, way back before Thanksgiving, way back before that factoring test. Okay, so you got to make sure you look at the directions. Like the first few problems are all about multiplying, which is the opposite of factoring, guys. So make sure you understand what you're doing. Like the first section is basically what we just did. They'll give you two binomials and ask you to multiply. The directions there are to multiply. Do you understand what you're supposed to do? So it's unfactoring. It's already in factor form, and you're going to give me the answer like t squared plus 4t plus 6t. Are you with me? Okay, and then you have a whole section that just says to factor. Again, not solve, but factor. Like this, x squared plus 8x plus 12. Do you see how that doesn't equal anything? So your answer will look like two sets of parentheses. You won't actually tell me solutions. You can't tell me solutions because it doesn't equal anything. Does that make sense? Okay, and there will be some where you got to take a GCF out first and then factor what's left. So this is basically a review of the first part of Chapter 7. It's page 200. 1 to 18, that's what you work on after the quiz. Please get out a piece of paper, make an answer column for me. I'm going to go ahead and put the formulas up here. Area of a circle is pi r squared. Circumference of a circle, there's 10 questions, is pi d. It's a circle. Okay, you don't like my picture, you want the word circle. Area of a circle and circumference of a circle. What about area of a triangle? Base times height divided by 2. Please don't forget to divide by 2 on the triangle problem. Don't forget to put a pi on the circle problems. Please don't go crazy with the pi. I had somebody who put pi on every single answer. What does pi go with? Circles.